enough. So,
Yeah.
Jason, we left off with you basically just talking about not having the space to do what you want because you're working too much and you can't basically do anything but that, and you're not really feeling your job, right? So I
Mm.
mean, I can tie into that personal experience is that when I was working my jobs, I definitely know that, just from research, is that the average millionaire has 7 sources of income, and I couldn't
Mm.
figure out how to get past source one. And I just didn't also have the space or the time to do it. And even with my job, and like it seemed like I had the perfect job and I had the dream job, but everybody's dream is different. And I didn't have the space or the place to start thinking for myself and outside the box of what makes me happy, who am I, what do I like, because I basically just masked my entire life with putting in ridiculous amounts of hours, and that was my life. That's what I did. I worked. That was me.
Yeah.
Oh, where's
Yeah.
Bryce? Oh yeah, he's working. Oh, family's at the lake. Where's Bryce? Yeah, Bryce must be working. Oh, Bryce isn't on this trip. Oh, he must be working. Paying for my family to go and have all these great times while I sat there staring at my phone, stuck at work for
Mhm.
12 hours, sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less. Oh, like they're having a great time. And where am I? Oh, I'm stuck in a dealership. Yeah, this is nice white walls and free coffee.
You know what though, and I think I bet you they of course they were having a good time,
Yeah.
but part of them was probably still saying it'd be better if Bryce was here right now, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
complete the full experience. Because some people also have like guilt, right? They're like, oh, we're enjoying this trip or this experience or this event or whatever. But like Bryce isn't here, right? Like and it's kind of like this guiltiness too, right? So
Yeah.
it can also have a negative effect, even though they're going out to do it and you're working hard. They might not actually enjoy it that much. For sure, they'll enjoy it more if you were there along
Oh yeah,
the way too.
totally. Yeah, totally. And like we saw that like on our Disneyland trip, where like our family just
Hmm.
like connected so much. Like we went
Yeah.
everywhere, and like I mean, we drove, and we had an 8 and a 12-year-old, and they didn't fight. So
Yeah.
like that goes to show like how important that family time is. And I was watching a podcast, and I or a video log on YouTube. I actually can't remember who it was, but they were saying basically it's not the vacations that you take. It's not the once a year vacation that you take. It's not the getaways. It's not that or this. It's the day-to-day, the grind, the hustle. That's what matters. That's where the memories are built. That's the important stuff. The 1 week vacation, the 2 week vacation, that's the icing on the cake, man. That stuff will
Yeah.
come, and that stuff's great. But what about the rest of it? What about the
Yeah.
355 other days of the year? Those are the days that you should be focusing in on and really honing in to make sure that you're enjoying yourself. It's don't work for a vacation.
Yeah.
Don't give up 300 days, or 350 days to get
Yeah.
50. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense, right? Like that's that place for not having the space to do what you want, because guess what? You're building up somebody else's dream. You're working for someone else, unless you're working for yourself, and like this isn't for
Yeah.
everybody, but for the most part, I don't know how many people, like I can't count the amount of people I know that don't like their jobs, and you're working for someone else's dream, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
working for you, you're working for them. Of course, you're getting things out of it, but you're giving
Yep.
up your time for them, right? Like they're
Yep.
the ones building up their empire, and you're looking for when is enough.
You're a cog in the wheel, right?
You're a cog on the wheel.
Yeah.
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 Um,
Absolutely.
so I mean, with that, like, you know, one thing that I always thought about, and I couldn't really put my mind, I couldn't figure it out like for so long. But go for what you want, right? Like
Yes.
if you could wake up tomorrow and have the life that you wanted to have, what does it look like?
Hmm.
And write it down. And
100%.
the power of your mind, you will figure it out. It
Yeah.
will happen. Something will happen. And that will create something else to happen. And before you know it, you're working your way towards it. Just know
Yes.
what it is and write it down, and don't be scared. Go for it. But guess what you can't do? If you have high car payments, a house that you can't afford, your interest rates just went up, Maybe you're on a variable rate. Now you can't
Yeah.
afford your life. Now you're in it for a tight time. And let's face it, when money is tight and money is stressful, that's when you're going to fight with your partner, right? There's
Yep.
so many different reasons why to live well below your means because of all those things. You don't want to be stressed about money. You don't want that to be the thing. The rates change, and then all of a sudden you can't afford the life because we're all making crazy amounts of money when COVID happened. It was just like boom, 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 boom. We're making more money than we've ever made.
Yep.
Let's go buy the bigger house. Let's go buy the better car. And guess what? Now everything's calmed down, gone down, and rates have gone way up, and groceries are up, and everything's up, and gas is up. Now what do you do?
Yeah.
Right?
Your stress is up.
Your stress is up. And that's like, probably one of the number one reasons people get divorced is because of money stress, money problems,
Money is the root of all evil. And to go to your point about like, waking up and have, like what would you do or what could you do? And you talked about the mindset. I think the mindset is a very good versus evil. And so you got to watch your mindset too,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
it's not that easy to say, it's easier to make excuses why not than it is to have confidence on why you can, right?
Totally.
So if you go, hey, I want to open up a flower shop or I want to do decals and stuff like that, your mind will go, it'll say, yeah, I love this. You're so passionate about it. And you're up here. And then some mindsets, I'm not going to say everybody's mindset, but you'll start.
That's our mind. Yeah.
Boom,
100%.
negative, negative, negative. You can't do this. You don't have
And
time.
here's the list of every reason why it'll never work and why,
Exactly.
your brain goes to, I'm going to keep you and your life safe.
Yes.
And the next
Fight or
day you
flight.
wake up and you're like, what the fuck was I thinking?
5
I
years just go
can't
by and you're still doing the
do
same job.
this.
Yeah.
And I felt that. I've been through that a million times. And it took me, 36 years old, finally trying to do something for myself. And my mindset's like, I've got the confidence. I can do this. This is the way it's going to be. Right? Like 100% sure. Because our minds are naturally set to be more negative than they are positive. It actually takes more energy and more work to have a positive mindset. Like it's harder. We'll naturally go the other way. We'll naturally fight to do less work. That's just the way that our minds work, right? So yeah, that is 100% a great point. And it's gone, I'm sure it's happened to you and like, like going for something and like it's definitely happened to me. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say like, it's all about like reverse psychology, right? Not enough time in the day, especially if you're in a busy, high demand job.
Yeah.
Look at it the opposite way. Say, I have 24 hours in a day. 24. That's a lot, right? So you go, okay, well, I'm going to sleep for 5 or 6, or for me, it's more like 8. I got to get my beauty rest in. And then you're going to, so you're 8, so that's 16. And then I got to go to work. That's another 8. So you're down to 8 hours in a day.
Yep. 8 hours.
Okay. So going to make some dinner. Let's say you got to go to
lunch
to and from work. So that's 2 hours. So you're like maybe 6 hours. 6 hours.
That's a school day.
Yeah, right. And so are you watching Netflix for 3 hours? Are you like whatever? Like that's 6 hours is a long time. So
100%.
like maybe there are some other things that you have to do. Maybe you have to clean the house. Maybe you got to do this, whatever. Like can you dedicate 30 minutes to yourself and your own goals each day when you have 24 hours, maybe even 15 minutes, just to like map out your plan for your new business?
Yeah.
We make excuses, and one of the biggest ones is time. We don't have time. And the truth is, we actually have a lot of it.
Well, let's face it.
The time.
Bill Gates has the same 24 hours we all have.
Yep.
Right?
Every one of
Steve
them
Jobs had the same 24 hours we had. And like those guys were like perfectionists. Like Steve Jobs, what was it? Like he had the same outfit over and over and over and over again because he didn't want to spend time or mental capacity thinking about
Correct.
what am I going to wear today? What am I
Correct.
going to do? It's just like basically routine. Boom. I pick this
Yep.
up. I don't have to think about it because we all have only so much energy and so much time. That
Yep.
guy was a genius at bringing the level down to totally maximize the time that he had
Every day.
to think about everything that he wanted to do and where he wanted to take Apple as a visionary, right? So
Yep.
100%.
Exactly.
You're right. Like, well, even 5 minutes, you know, and start with 5 minutes. Start with writing out 5 minutes. When I
Yes.
was at the top of my game in sales, I wrote out every single morning my goals and what I wanted and my plans, and then every night and every day, all day long. The last thing I thought about was my goals. The first thing that I thought about was my goals. And let me tell you this, it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. Goals, setting goals are it's a huge thing, and it works for sure. You know, and so when we're doing these things, you know, like and if you're working a job that you hate, chances are you're not going to have the ability to do it because you're going to be in a negative mindset.
True.
And
Yeah.
you're going to spend hours, because I've done it. I'd come home from work and deal with the kids, and it's like, okay, watch Netflix. And I'm like tired of Netflix. I have nothing left to watch. But I'm tired. I'm exhausted
Yeah.
because when you're not happy at work,
That's true. Yep.
it drains you, right?
True. Good
It
point.
drains you. Like, and I'm like, whereas now, you know, I'm doing more than I've ever done, and I'm making significantly less money, and I don't actually feel like my life has changed whatsoever. Like, I actually feel way happier, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Happiness
like,
doesn't have a price tag. I
it
mean,
doesn't.
it's
We all need a
unlimited.
certain amount of money to get by and be
Yep.
comfortable. And I think that there was a study, and it kind of teetered around that $80,000 a year each. And then beyond that, it doesn't actually substantially increase your happiness. And maybe that's a little bit different for where we live in, because we live in an expensive place. But
Yeah.
you know,
Agreed.
so to the next point is like, okay, when we chase money, right, and these items, where do they go? Like we talked about in the last episode, how long it's exciting to get a new car. What about all the other items? What about getting on your phone and then clicking on those Amazons, and you're buying Amazon, boop, 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 boop. What about that stuff? And it's exciting, right? And all of a sudden, the stuff comes to your door, and it's quick, and you're updated, blah, blah, and you open up the package, and you're all pumped up. What about those things? Where do they end up?
Yeah.
Landfills.
Well, a lot of times landfills or
Storage
Goodwill,
lockers. Storage lockers.
Oh
You
man,
buy all this
you nailed
stuff,
it.
and then you pay for your storage locker for the stuff that you bought that you have no place for in your house because you've already bought too much stuff, and then it goes in the storage locker. And this is what this is what you're working for. You're working to store items that you don't have time to use, right? And you're paying to store them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You hit the nail on the head, man, because like again, you talk about cost of living. Now, who's owning who? Do you own your stuff, or does your stuff own you? You're absolutely right. The more, we are consumers, right? It's so in our DNA, at least in North America, especially, and there's that dopamine hits, right? It's like, everybody likes to get something delivered to their door and all that stuff, and it's an addiction too. But it does pile up, and then all of a sudden you got all this stuff around you, like some of it's probably in the closet and you don't even see it. So at one point it felt really good when you got that new thing.
Yeah.
But now where is it? It's nowhere around, and it's just collecting dust. And worse, like you said, maybe it's you've got it in storage, and now you bought it this price way back when, and now it's actually costing you money, and you don't even use it.
It's a monthly subscription, basically.
Yes.
You've now subscribed monthly to the items that you don't need and you don't use. And another thing that what happens is when you buy all this stuff, it actually creates stress for you in your life.
Yes.
And it's overwhelming, and you have the bigger house, you've got all the stuff, and it's more to clean, and it's more to deal with, and it's
Yep.
more clutter. And I don't know about you, but I get overwhelmed with clutter. I need
Yep.
things to be simple and clean, and I'm very, very like tight with all my stuff. They all have a place for it. So like when you get to that point where you've got all this stuff and you're already stressed out about work, and then you come home and your place is like you got stuff everywhere that you don't need, and you're just like it's stressful, right?
Yeah.
And then what do some people do? They go and buy more, right? Because
Yeah. Add
they get
into it.
that dopamine hit again. Like, oh, you know what? I have all this stuff and it's like everywhere and blah blah blah. But if I just went and bought this, this will actually fix the issue. And I'll buy these storage and I'll buy these little containers to put the stuff in, and then you don't have time to put the stuff in the containers. And obviously you can get a vibe that I've dealt with this myself. And then it's just
We
like,
all have.
yeah, and it's like, what are we doing? Right? Like it's just
Yeah.
again, like you know, the minimalism, and the show on
Yes.
Netflix, The Minimalists, like absolutely great
Yes.
show. It breaks
Absolutely.
it down. Same thing. Like these guys were, one of the guys, the show, he was like no, not CEO. He was like high up in the corporate world, like one
Yeah,
of
that's right.
the youngest guys, right?
Yeah.
Making all this money, grew up in a poor family, like so I can relate to this guy really well. And then his mom died, his wife left him, or his girlfriend left him, and then he quit his job, and then he basically said goodbye to all of his stuff, and then now he has the things that matter to him, right?
Yeah.
And his whole life has changed, and because of that big shift, him and his buddy, they made a show of it.
Yeah.
They have a
Yeah.
career. They do maybe TED Talks, I don't know, but like they do a lot of different stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
how can that not be everybody else out here? How can we not all do very similar things because we can, right?
Yeah, minimalism it shouldn't be a fad or a trend. That's
Absolutely
the
not.
one thing.
Not a fad word.
Um,
Minimalist, minimalist. I'm a minimalist, like, yeah, it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's a
like
hype
it's
word.
not like being a vegetarian. Like
Yeah.
you can, do you need 50 shirts? Do you need 20 pairs of pants? Do you need 10 pairs of shoes? Maybe on the shoes. But
Depends on your
like
thing, right? Yeah.
it depends on your thing, but
You like
like
books? It's okay.
really, could you live off 5 shirts and 2 pairs of pants and a couple
Yeah.
pairs of shoes? Yes,
Yeah. Of
yes, you could.
course.
And
People people do.
yeah,
One pair of shoes, right? That's for sure.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I can definitely say that I've been a consumer most of my life. I have like I like the finer things. I would buy in, but I too watched that show a couple years ago, and I went, wow, like again, you can't bring any of this stuff with you when your time is up. And so,
No.
like, could it feel a little bit better if things around you are a little lighter? Like when you go to open your garage door and you can't put the car in the garage, and that's the purpose of the garage
To
because you
put a
have all
car in.
these Tupperwares in there. Doesn't that feel gross? Like, and so I think there's something for it all goes up into the same kind of thing when is enough. But I think minimalism has a real power for reflection to look around at what you have and go,
Yeah.
this, that, and the other thing. Does it bring me joy? Does it do anything? Does it
Is
have
it
any
purposeful?
functionality? Is
Is
it
there a purpose to
purposeful?
this? Just
And if
don't
it's
bring
no,
anything into your life.
yes, be aware
Be
and
mindful.
yeah, be picky and choosy. And then if you do have all this stuff like in your reality and you have all this stuff all over the place, deal with it. Like give it up. Is it got purpose? And if it doesn't, then send it to charity, go sell it on eBay or wherever you want to do it, and get some money back
Totally.
while releasing some of that clutter.
Totally. Absolutely. And like, and living like that gives you the freedom, right? And it's
Yes.
just like it's a lifestyle. It's like it's the
Yeah.
same thing when we go back to that car scenario. Do I need the fancy car? No, you don't.
No.
Like, and do I need the big house? No, no, you absolutely do not. Get a house that works for 80% of what you need it for, and get a car that works for 80% of what you need it for. And then the rest of the 20% you deal with it when you need to. And that, like, and then, buy things for yourself, for your home that have purpose and when you need to have something. And that will just in itself give you freedom to, at some point, if you're not liking your job, whether it's a low paying job,
Yeah.
medium paying job, high paying job, to make a
Yep.
change and make that move, because just like we change constantly, not just our lifestyles, but like what we are into, what we enjoy, what we're about, we're constantly changing. It's the only thing that's promised in our life is change. And a job that worked for you 5 years ago or 10 years ago for me at Bell, it wouldn't suffice for me now. I've outgrown things, and just like you've outgrown certain scenarios, right? Like, so don't trap yourself into a tough spot. And let's tie it back into it. And like, let's just remember here, I'm talking to you, Jason, and like, you've been a very successful person, and you never chased the money. And one thing that you always told me was the money is the root of all evil. And I tended not to listen to you whatsoever. And I chased it anyways. And you didn't, and we both sit here, years later, and, making the choices that you did for your family and being around your family, is that you were able to not chase the money, and you ended up with 2 homes, and you ended up with nice cars and no financial worries or stresses, and the ability to shift and change your life and work jobs that you want to, because you made smart choices, and now you have wealth that you've built to be able to make those changes. And guess what? That's what it's about. It's about the freedom. That's what this is all about. And that is when enough is enough, is that when you've got your financial freedom to do what you choose, right? Yeah. So my hat off to you for that.
Well, I'll give you more, for the viewer, look, I made choices that had some sacrifice, right? Like, so I lived in Victoria, and I got an opportunity to get promotion, and it was like, there was 2 different areas, and I was like, okay, well, if I stay in Victoria, like, it's beautiful and stuff, but I can't really afford it. Like, maybe move a little bit further away from family and stuff like that. I had to make sacrifices, but I bought a house at a third of the price, right? And by fortune of just the way this island has grown, that value of that property is 5 times as what I paid for. So it's great. That's not real money. That's like, it's not in my bank account, but it's there. There's value. But then 2, again, I made sacrifice again. Not a sacrifice. The second house was by the desire to get closer to family again, but I bought in a place that wasn't kind of the norm, and it was cheaper. And so for my living, I'm very fortunate in the sense, like, I have 2 properties that are probably less than a mortgage of 1, right? But I had to make sacrifices, and I think, again, you don't have to have 2 properties. It's
No.
but you can make sacrifices like you did too, right? Like, you moved outside of the town, and it's a little bit longer commute, but you save money. And instead, you made a bigger buffer space for yourself for flexibility on your income. And
Totally.
those are, I think, sometimes sacrifices, although they don't feel great, are good, right? And the thing is, you can always undo it too, right? Like, maybe you make a sacrifice for 5 years, and you keep like, maybe you buy a condo instead of a townhouse or a home, and you save more money for 2 or 3 years.
Totally.
And then you can upgrade. You can change. Anything can change.
Everything grows, right? And talk about sacrifice. Like, me and you have both done it. Like, you were living in Ladysmith and working in Victoria, right? And you were commuting back and forth. And I thought you were the craziest person I have ever met in my life. Like, it was insane. And you did it. And you stayed partially at your mom's house, and then, like, what I mean, with family, and then you go back home and with your kids and stuff like that. And that's the sacrifice it took you to get to where you are at in your career, and to get you a home. And I did the same thing. I was commuting from a place that was way far out from my work, and the same thing. And then I work long hours, and and I'm not telling anybody here, don't sacrifice and just be lazy and do whatever you want. No way. Absolutely not. It's going to take sacrifice, but don't do it somewhere that you hate doing it just for the money. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you want to work for yourself, it ain't going to be easy, and you're going to have to sacrifice the heck out of your life, and it's worth it. Especially, make sure you love what you're doing. don't do it just for the money, because it'll never be enough. You'll end up like me. I had all the money, kept coming in, and I was freaking miserable. And it's not, the money didn't make me miserable. It was just I wasn't vibing with what I was doing. I want that money again. I don't need it, but I want financial freedom at some point in my life. And I'm happier now than ever, but I'm still going to go for that money. I'm just going to do it on my own terms and not somebody else's. Right. So sacrifice hearts. You're going to sacrifice. Do it. Just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're not doing it for $100,000 car, $50,000 wedding, $80,000, whatever it is. It just never ends. It could never end. You just keep buying.
It will continue. There'll always be something to put a whole whack load of cash in there. Everything around us points us into that direction. You just nailed a bunch of them, right? Like the expensive car, the really expensive wedding, these things just compile and compile and compile. You have kids, and then you want the $80,000 minivan. It's like, you just gotta make sacrifices, and they don't have to be forever, but they can be short, and they can help you get to that final financial freedom a lot faster.
Sacrifices pay. That's at the end of the day, sacrifices pay, right? Like, however you gotta sacrifice, you're not doing the things everybody else is doing, sacrifice it, because it's gonna pay. Sacrifice not getting the house that everybody else has got. Just sacrifice and do what you got to do, right? But do it on your terms. Don't get tied into someone else's and get stuck there and absolutely hate your job, right?
Absolutely.
So that's when enough is enough. And and that's what I think about that. That's where Jason and I stand, and it was a great video log, and I hope lots of you guys watched it, and we love doing it again. And next time we'll have something fresh, and please comment, because we're down to talk about anything. Like, we just kind of go off, like we have a little couple topic points, and everything else is a freestyle cipher.
It is absolutely. And thanks, Bryce, for the topic today. And again, we love the comments. Subscribe to both of our channels. We'll put it in the feed, and I just can't wait till our next convo, Bryce. I really, really enjoy. I love these. There's so much fun, easy flowing, and
absolutely.
Hopefully anybody that listens and views gets one thing out of it, and if not, we got something out of it. So
I got a beer.
Good for me. Yeah, you got a beer. I just got water this time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bryce. Till next time.